Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Tom.
What are you reading?
Oh, I'm reading Marshal Law.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Woo! Not 90s, 80s comics. Oh.
Being hardcore, an edgelord in the 80s.
So edgy.
Fascism's bad.
This is kind of ahead of its time in a few places.
A little bit.
It's
very adjacent to Judge Dredd. You know, obviously we talked about the previous episode. A lot of the same people are involved, so it's kind of it's hitting the same points that Judge Dredd hits. It's just a little different approach with its satire.
Yeah. I would also say some of the concepts are a little ahead of its time. Like the space time travel. Like I haven't seen that talked about.
In popular culture, no, that's true.
In popular culture until,
fucking Interstellar,
Christopher Nolan.
Christoph Nolan.
Yeah. Hey, everybody.
Christoph Nolan.
Welcome to episode 2 of Tom and Dave read Marshal Law.
Oh, boy, do we.
Boy, do we. This is a podcast. You might have listened to the first one. This is brought to you by Mind Freak 555.
If you didn't listen to the first one, I don't know what you're doing here.
Yeah. No, but big thank you to Mind Freak 555. Yes. I think we called them Mind Freak 555 last time.
Oh, so they're a mind freak. They're a freak for minds.
Yeah, they're like mine freak. This is mine.
Yeah.
Mind freak. Or like an underground mine.
Yeah, they're
Mind freak and then the fake phone number in movies. Mind freak 555.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah.
This has been a fun new experience. It's been chill.
Pretty chill. Pretty chillaxed, I'll say. I'll even go that far. But yeah.
It's pretty chillaxed.
Old Mind Freak is having us read an 80s comic series called Marshal Law by Pat Mills and Kevin O'Neill. It's a British comic. Some of the people involved, I think Pat Mills, we talked about it last episode, but it's some of the people involved with the creation of 2000 AD. So it's kind of a similar fascist send-up satire of kind of the direction both the UK and the United States were going in the 80s.
Yeah. We last episode we did the comic book episodes. Are they called episodes, Tom?
Issues, Dave. Issues. Or books.
Issues 1 through 3. Yeah. I'm not cool. Issues.
Me either.
Issues 1 through 3.
Yeah.
Which kind of sets up the world. And there's this gentleman by the name of Marshal Law who works for the cops. He is a police officer for superheroes because the world, we had a war. We made all these genetically engineered superheroes. We sent them to war, and then we basically forgot about them, except for like a few like ones on top, such as Public Spirit.
Public Spirit, who's this universe's Superman.
Yeah, so that's the premise. There's also been a earthquake that has fucked the country.
I think this is it takes place in San Francisco, right?
The city, just the city.
Is that right? I think it's in San Francisco.
Yeah, they merged, right? It's the Demolition Man idea.
Yeah,
it's like a merged city.
Yeah, it's called like San Futuro or something. But anyway,
yeah.
So there's a lot of like
it's this apocalypse that yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. You take it. You take it.
it's this apocalyptic area with like a select few who are on top, and everybody else has just been like thrown away by society. Martial law works for the cops to keep people in line. Meanwhile, there's been a ongoing villain named Sleep Man who has been going around and assaulting and murdering, raping and murdering women who all look like the superhero Celeste, who is married to or getting married,
about to be married
to Public
Spirit.
Public Spirit. So it's the idea of who is the Sleep Man. He has just murdered the girlfriend of Marshal Law's alternate ego named Lynn. And so he is out for blood now.
Yeah.
He suspects it's Public Spirit and has been publicly berating him for that. And they have made a deal where Public Spirit donates money to
essentially a veterans hospital.
Yes,
for all the SERPs, they call them, the surplus superheroes. Basically, all the genetically engineered soldiers they sent to war and who came home and are now unhoused and have mental problems and are in roving games and so it's very, very much like people coming home from Vietnam and like that's the clear allegory there.
Right. So that's shut Marshal Law up temporarily.
Mm-hmm.
He is continuing to investigate with the help of his assistant Danny and who's the big guy's name?
Kiloton.
He's not in these.
Kiloton.
He's not in the next 3 comics.
Nope.
We meet Danny's mother for the first time, right? In these new ones.
No, we met her before. She's the shop owner.
We met her before?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
She was
Mrs. Mallon.
Mrs. Mallon, who owns the store.
Yeah. And so that's where we're at. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, so this chunk begins with Public Spirit and Celeste's wedding, and then goes all the way through to the reveal of the Sleep Man and the denouement of that. Where they wrap that storyline up. So this is the initial 6-issue miniseries that sort of introduced the character, the world, and this is the end of the first storyline, which is the Sleep Man storyline.
Yeah. Basically, if they were making movies of this first 6 would be the first
It'd be the first movie, yeah.
It would be bad to make it more than one movie, in my opinion, and we'll get to that. We'll talk about what this would be as a movie. So it begins with, him going around. He's fighting the California Bastards, I believe.
Yeah, with their lead guy looks like Baraka.
Yeah, I love he says to a guy, "Pay up or I'll throw up on you."
Yeah.
That's a great.
Yeah, it's like, what did we do? And the other guy's like, you're breathing the same air as us. So yeah.
Yeah. So this is the first issue. The first one is the wedding, right? So it starts that way, but then he's going to go to the wedding to confront Public Spirit.
Yes.
We see them prepping for the wedding. We meet Hydro Man and Aquanaut, which I was like, these are amazing water freaks.
Yeah, they're just fucking in a pool, and it's great.
Yeah, they have to shave their bodies.
Yeah, it makes them more aerodynamic, but in the water.
Right. We get more with Danny's mom. We start with Celeste as well, like her POV about what's been happening. These women who are being attacked for dressing like her. She sort of dismisses it as being her fault because it isn't her fault. And it's her wedding day. She's getting in the dress, and then fucking Sleep Man bursts through the window. Then we go back to Marshal Law going into the wedding, right? And he's looking to confront Public Spirit.
So we think.
Like
at this point,
right?
At this point, he
has a conversation.
Yeah.
Sorry, what triggers this? I forget.
Shit. All right, so there's he's fighting with the gangs. He talks to Mrs. Mallon and Danny because her shop gets demolished in this gang fight, and she's ranting about how awful superheroes are.
Right, how they should all be killed.
Yeah, how they're all bacteria specifically. So I forget exactly shit. All right.
I think there was one other detail, and I don't remember. And if you remember, some of the things that were set up is that he suspects Public Spirit because his DNA matches, and because his girlfriend before Celeste before he went to space, it really seems like he drowned her.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Oh, he goes to a priest. He goes to a priest to ask him, like, who refused to marry them. And he was like, why did you refuse to marry him? And the priest admits, yeah, because he admitted to me that he killed his ex-girlfriend because she was pregnant.
Yeah, but not only that, the priest tells him she's still alive and she had the kid.
Yes. So you can probably tell where this is going.
Yeah, it's
very odd for six issues for such a arc. Because it was like whiplash. Like, I didn't even have time to get used to any of the characters.
Yeah, it happens very quickly.
It's the same with Lynn, where it's like, she's dead, you know?
I guess if you were reading this monthly,
you'd
have more time to, like, have these little, each issue sort of like gestate and, well, not gestate, but like digest and sort of ruminate on what's happening in them and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably budget and stuff. Like, honestly, I would double the amount of issues for this plot line, but maybe they couldn't, you know? Maybe they could only print 6. So you know where this is going is that...
Mrs. Malin turns out to be Virago, who was the superhero that was married to Public Spirit before, whom he thought he drowned, and she gave birth to Danny.
Who's been in a wheelchair, but it turns out he's faking it.
Big old faker. He's a superhero. He is the Sleep Man.
He is the Sleep Man.
And he's doing this because he was raised to hate superheroes, hate Public Spirit, want to destroy them all. Like, basically, his mom gave him hell of a complex. He's quite the little sociopath.
Yeah.
He's self-loathing. Like I mentioned that in the previous episode. One of the things that's most interesting about Sleep Man, even though he's sort of like a typical edgelord character, is that the way they characterize him is so punctuated by self-loathing, and the reveal makes that make a whole lot of sense because his mom hates superheroes and raised him with all of this vitriol because she's so angry at Public Spirit, and justifiably he tried to fucking drown her. And got away with it, and it's just still like the most famous, beloved superhero.
It's a real Red Dragon situation.
Yes, yeah,
right. Mm-hmm. Like it's the similar arc of like a serial killer or something like that, where
who still has like
he's been taught that he's like dirty and bad.
Yeah, and there's like part of him that doesn't want to be this. You know,
right?
Like he sort of wants like martial law to catch on. I don't know. There's a lot of. I think we also talked about this a little bit before in the previous episode. There's a lot of pathology that's handled a lot more deftly than you might expect for a schlocky comic like this.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, so it should be noted Celeste is killed.
Oh yeah. Yes.
And so
the women do not fare well in this comic.
No.
Because it's an edgelord comic from the 80s.
Yeah. Also, everything we're talking about is like issue 2 or the issue, 5, which is the Danny stuff.
Yeah.
So this first issue is he goes to the wedding. You think he's going to go after Public Spirit. He even points the gun, but it's a fake out. He's actually rescuing him, right?
Yes.
And so he rescues him because Danny has killed Celeste and is now going to kill him as revenge for his mother. I don't know. Like I feel like I knew that Danny was Sleep Man at this point. I don't remember when the reveal actually was.
Basically, when the preacher talks to him.
Okay.
Or if you're paying real close attention, you probably could have guessed by the conversation that Mrs. Malin has with Marshal Law after the gang fight, where she's ranting about how her shop was destroyed and starts using some of the same phrases that Sleep Man uses.
Right. Oh yeah. So this is what I actually wrote down my process. My first thought was like, wait, is Sleep Man Public Spirit's son? Because I also realized it's such a great use of the time stuff. The whole reason they narratively, Public Spirit goes to space and it's like 25 years past for us and only 2 years past for him is so Danny can grow up and be his age. And I really liked how they did that.
Yep.
I also like the later when they talk about how like he's forever young. He's like a fictional superhero. Everybody was, Marshal Law when he was a kid, he loved Public Spirit, and now that he's an adult, Public Spirit is there, and he looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
And I love that idea of like, he's like a comic book character that never ages.
Exactly. Yeah, he stays the same age. It was a clever way to do that. Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah, it's a push and pull. There's more cleverness in this book, but for sure there's, as we mentioned in the previous episode, there's also stuff that's dated and pretty rough around the edges, but all in all,
it's a combination of like some dated stuff, a little bit of cliches, but then some stuff that I would argue was like a really good narrative choice that's ahead of its time.
Yeah.
And so like for example, the Danny Red Dragon shit. I had a feeling at first. I was like, "Is Mrs. Malin? Is she Sleep Man?" And then it all clicked. He saves him. Sleep Man tries to get away. He starts getting attacked. I like the part where they all bet on who he is.
Yeah.
And I wrote down the names. One person bets it's Harvey Hama, the billionaire playboy. Another one thinks it's Errol Martin, the like society photographer. And the final one thinks it's Jason Fisher, state prosecutor, which is very funny because it's all like there's all stereotypes of alter egos.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they're like, wait, no, it's just some guy. He goes after Danny and they fight and they have to like nerf the powers, which I didn't mind. So they do a thing where like Public Spirit fights Danny, the Sleep Man at first. He also kills the shit out of Mrs.
Malin Virago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And very pointedly, Danny does not intervene. Like he just sits there and watches while Public Spirit punches her head in, basically.
Yeah. And then they fight. And then I think doesn't Public Spirit get away?
Well, yeah.
Because
Marshal Law shows up and shoots, and I think he also gasses. Oh no, wait, he gasses Public Spirit later, which is the power nerfing. Because otherwise, it's like Batman fighting Superman.
Well, they power nerf here because he can't fly after this. Public Spirit,
right?
They say like he can't fly anymore, and that was like kind of weird. They also power nerf here where Sleep Man starts like monologuing because he thinks that the other. I think that we're getting into issue 2 where we start finding out. Yeah, we are. Where we start finding out his backstory. So most of I keep saying issue 2, issue 5. Most of that is Danny's backstory. His mom telling him he's dirty and gross and a parasite and telling him to hide his powers. And part of it is that he idolized Marshal Law because Marshal Law beats up superheroes.
Yeah, Marshal Law also hates superheroes.
Yeah, and he was taught to hate superheroes. So there's this great idea of like Marshal Law has been blaming Public Spirit when the reveal is like they're both equally to blame.
Yeah, exactly.
It's about this, and we'll get to it. It's about the anti-hero / hero relationship and how they're not that much different, right?
Right.
And how they're both kind of two sides of the same coin, which I guess is kind of clear by the names of them, but like it's the realization that Marshal Law is just part of this same system, and by system we mean like a misogynist system, like a system of violence.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into, which I thought was a fascinating angle.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
basically Danny starts monologuing to Marshal Law, and Marshal Law just empties a clip like into him. He just shoots at him, and Danny is so thrown off by this that he doesn't have time to like deflect the bullets. That's the nerfing. And then he gets shot and falls into the water and is presumed dead and drowned, right?
Yes. But also he doesn't actually monologue. It's all
You're right. It's all internal.
It's all internal.
I think the idea is he thinks Marshal Law is going to be proud of him.
Right. He takes off his mask to reveal himself, and he thinks it's going to be like, he thinks they're going to have like some sort of banter. Like, he's like, I thought you were going to ask.
Right.
Like, why I did it. I thought you were going to say something. And it's like he was expecting a big monologue conversation, and instead Marshal Law just shoots him.
Yeah, because he doesn't care. And the idea is that he didn't mean to go after Lynn. He's like, I didn't know that you two were together. But this is all internal. And he thought, this will all come out. And it's like, nope, he just shoots him.
But the other element...
he's fucking pissed at him.
Yeah, but the other element is that he wants him to shoot him. Like, he's like, it's the self-loathing element. He wants to be destroyed. So, like, he's happy. Like, it ends... Like, he's like, well, now that... Basically, his monologue as he's sinking to the bottom of the ocean, having been shot through the fucking heart. He's like, well, okay, now I'm out of the way. He's like, well, whatever. I was expecting a little bit better of an ending, but you kind of know what's best. Mom's dead. You're about to go get Dad, so now I can just finally just be dead. Like, he's like stoked. Like, this is what he wanted.
Spoilers. He doesn't.
He is not dead. No. He gets pulled out of the water by James Woods.
Yes, he does. And we don't really follow up. Like, all we know from there is that he's like fucked up. Like, he's in a hospital. They're trying to rehabilitate him, and
but he's being rehabilitated by the Nazi doctor that created superheroes. If you listen to the previous episode, you'll know who we're talking about. Yeah. So they're kind of like rehabilitating him to continue to be a violent bastard.
Yes. Yeah, they're trying to harness his energy. Yeah. I'm sure he'll show up as something, a nightmare.
Yeah, fucking demon comes screaming back into this comic.
Yeah. So, but that's the other thing. So what happens now is that there's still the little issue of the fact that Public Spirit absolutely killed or tried to kill Miss Mallon.
And now he definitely did. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was surprised by this, but society is like, oh, okay. Like, nobody protects him anymore. And which is interesting because there weren't any like witnesses or anything.
No, it's more because like he's trying to escape on a plane. So he puts a decoy because again, he gets nerfed somehow. I forget, but he can't fly anymore.
It's his fight with Sleep
Man.
Nerfs him. Yeah.
So he has to get on a plane, but he uses a decoy to distract them. And it's basically, he's been shooting himself up with the superhero. I forget what they call it.
These steroids.
But they call it pumping ions. It like enhances your powers, but it also kind of makes you a maniac. So it like, basically James Woods, who's the chief of police, I forget the character's name, but he's drawn to look like James Woods. We went over all this in the previous episode.
We went through it, yeah.
But he basically is like, he's unhinged. We can't kind of keep a lid on him anymore. He's more trouble than he's worth now. So they basically sort of disavow him. Marshal Law gets into a big fight with him at the airport, and they actually James Woods winds up killing him. Like they shoot him through the head with a sniper round.
Marshal Law fear gasses him.
Yeah.
And then they shoot him with a high-powered rifle in the back of the head. They assassinate him. Mm-hmm. But all while this is happening, we're getting a flashback about Lynn's thesis.
Yes.
About superhero and like obsession with phallic objects. And like these old cards that were clearly spoofs of like the Mars Attacks
very
dinosaurs,
much. Yeah, and she calls it out in there too. Like it explicitly says Mars Attacks. But yeah.
And about this like male like attraction to false heroes, and because Marshal Law when he was a kid, Public Spirit was his hero. So it's this like it's this monologue over it where she's just talking about that aspect of it as Marshal Law is fighting his false hero, who then just gets popped in the back of the head, and it's sort of like explaining how everything got to where it is.
And it's also
it's interesting because the women are all like cast aside and murdered, mm-hmm. but Lynn has the strongest voice in the ending, which is interesting.
Right, like her thesis being woven through the finale kind of it's in my opinion, first of all, it's the best part of the comic. because it most clearly lays out what they wanted to say with it, which is sort of like this talking about, like you were saying, like the male fascination with heroes and violence and phallic imagery and misogyny, and it's also like kind of how it's all packaged up and sold so that it replicates through each generation, which is what happened with Marshal Law and then what happened with Danny, and then also it's like directly talking about what actually happened in America in the mid-century, because it shows it's her commentary on how we're all raised with these images, and it's very subtle, like she's pointing out, like in the trading cards, like public spirit's always rescuing the weak or like women or children, things that can be physically and sexually dominated by him. He's never rescuing hunky dudes, and like it's all like this, the misogyny is woven into this hero narrative, and it's like and then it shows like this other set of trading cards about like what happened in the Zone, which is their version of the Vietnam War in this story, where it's all the actual cards that are like actually depicting the real unsanitized horror of what happened. So it's like directly pointing at how we were sort of like in real life, like that was like the realities of things tend to be sanitized for us to like promote a more positive nationalistic image.
Right.
It's like the basically Lynn's thesis is the thesis of Marshal Law, the comic.
Exactly.
And they just lay it out for you in the end here.
Yeah, they do. And I think they needed to, because I don't think it was accidental or they weren't unaware of like the fact that they were fridging so many women. Like, I think that's on purpose.
Yes. And you kind of need to say it so plainly like this so that people realize you're not stepping on a rake.
Exactly.
Like they so that people realize it is intentional that we fridge every woman in this thing. But they're still doing it. So it's not like 100%.
They're still doing it.
It's not like 100%, excusable, but at least like with Lynn's
for something
thesis,
made in like the 80s, it's pretty ahead of its time.
It's pretty ahead of its time, and like by laying out Lynn's thesis, it's letting them know like, look, there was intent behind this. We were doing this thing so that we could comment on this thing.
Right. So I don't know. Oh yeah. Overall, I thought that really makes up for a lot of this.
It does. Yeah. It softens. Unfortunately it's in the 6th issue, so you still have to wade through. Yeah. It just kind of plainly doing all of those sort of not great tropes, to get to that point. But then once it gets to that point, you're like, oh.
Right, and I think if you think about this as back in a day where these tropes weren't seen as bad tropes necessarily,
people weren't really commenting on it yet. Yeah,
right, and the people picking up these comics were probably young men who are like, "Ooh, look at these tits on this comic."
Yeah, and Marshal Law looks cool as shit, and
exactly. So that's what I think gives it the appeal that it has, which is that it is aimed for people who probably need to hear this.
Yes.
And that's sort of the point. So, this isn't for everyone because it doesn't need to be for everyone. I think it was a fascinating series. I enjoyed it overall, but not for any of the cool reasons.
No, the cool stuff was like the hardest stuff to get through. The quote-unquote cool stuff, because it's like so typical of this era of comics and of this era really of a lot of entertainment that was like kind of geared toward boys and young men, where it's just like really violent and misogynistic. But like you get to this last issue, it's like no, here was the intent of this. Like this is what you need to know about this trope and why this,
yeah. And so I guess the question is, can this be a movie? It almost kind of is too dated.
I think so, because I think we've had, in 1987 when this came out, this was sort of a new approach to this. Like there wasn't a lot of at least big books or like mainstream books that were sort of pointing out this trend and specifically the negativity or like kind of the toxicity of this trend back then. It was much more like Frank Miller, who was doing the satire on like fascism and the military industrial complex, et cetera, that is an element of martial law, but that's kind of all Frank Miller's doing. Because it's like Frank Miller's books are loaded with cool dudes and big tits, and none of it's ironic. Like, he's doing it genuinely. Exactly. But this book has those elements, but is also putting the lens on those elements. But I think you're right that it's not as novel as it was back then, because we've had plenty of stuff that's sort of deconstructing this trope come out since then.
You would have to do... Like, this is a bad example, but you would have to make it look like the Zack Snyder stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like you'd have to be doing a modern movie version that you would be then, or the Marvel, either one. It'd have to be a commentary on those. Like, you can't do, like, I don't know, the Sin City style, because it's like, no, that's not really that popular. And that's dated.
Right, I think.
In terms of film. So, like, yeah, they'd have to start there. Mm-hmm. And the problem is there's not much grit in like the Marvel stuff.
This would be Zack Snyder. I think you were right first time. You would have to do like something that would appear to just genuinely be like a Zack Snyder grimdark superhero movie, and then as you're watching it, you would realize that it's actually turning its lens on deconstructing this trope, because like Zack Snyder's and the whole grimdark phase of superhero comics and stories were deconstructions of the traditional golden age superhero comics. So like now this is a deconstruction of the grimdark stuff.
Right.
But it is still grimdark because it has to be to, comment
and
on
that's great that they're looking at that stuff that was deconstruction. They're like, yeah, but you also have your own bullshit.
Yeah, but you're also this is also and you're right. It is very ahead of its time, because that trend of deconstructing the golden age of superhero comics was new in 1987. So like this book sort of saw where that was going kind of right away and was like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get ahead of that.
So it would have to it would have to just kind of look like a genuine Zack Snyder movie, and then sort of deconstruct that. But then it would just be The Boys.
It would just be the boys. I mean, it would be this plot. I mean, if we want to talk about the functionality of like how do you structure a movie like this versus should you make a movie like this? I think with The Boys, it's sort of like, okay, you missed the train. But what you would do is you'd make a Zack Snyder style. Mm-hmm. You do these 6 issues. You'd basically frame. I think there's not much. There's a little extra stuff that you'd have to stretch out here and get rid of in other places.
Yeah.
But I don't think you'd have to tell the story much differently. It would end probably, at that airport.
Or something similar, yeah.
Or on the rocks. If they wanted to condense it, they'd do it on the rocks, and then they'd kill public spirit there on the beach. Something like that I can see. We should talk about casting, right?
Right. Yeah. That was
something we want to do. But as a movie, I'd say like, you start with martial law stopping crime. You have to introduce the world somehow. But I'd say a lot of in that first issue is like shit on the TV, or like, I guess you could do like a whole big narrative dump at the beginning of your movie. I guess you could
just do. I mean, Zack Snyder, this is one of the things he's actually really good at. You just
That's true.
Do what he did with Watchmen, where it's just kind of
do it all in the credits.
It's just a montage in the credits. It's doable.
You'd start with someone dressed as Celeste getting attacked. Start with the Sleep Man, bring in Marshal Law. Yeah, you'd really look at Zack Snyder.
Honestly, he is good at that. Yeah.
I think the first big like fun and games action scene would be the convention. The halfway point is like probably where he gets his ass kicked by
Sleep Man? Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
And I think what you do is you do it where it all seems like it's leading to public spirit. Maybe you do Ass Kicked by Sleepman, and you'd merge that also. That would immediately be followed by You Need to Leave Public Spirit Alone stuff. And then you have
You're out of control, Marshal Law. Stay away from public spirit.
Yeah, you have it. You have like almost a false third act where you think, okay, it's all going to go down at the wedding, and so you lead up to that of him finding it out. You hide the twist from people as much as possible.
Yeah,
and then you do him confronting it at the same time. He bursts through and kills Celeste, and I think that's where you do the reveal simultaneous. And then for the third act, I would say you can fit in both ideas. You can fit in the final fight and then have the fight afterwards at the airport, but that would probably be like a little more downplayed. Like you do it like more of a conversation between the two of them or something like that.
Yes,
where they like the fighting is very small.
Because a lot of that would need to come out in the dialogue, so you could condense it down to just Marshal Law. Realistically, wouldn't get many shots in on Public Spirit anyway, so you would just condense it down to maybe him fear gassing him at the end of his monologue, and then he's kind of like going ballistic, and then he just gets shot by James Woods.
Yeah, I think in between that, or you'd intercut it with the Lynn stuff. You can't leave out the Lynn stuff.
No. But we talked about
that would be the hardest part to put in.
Yeah, it would be difficult, but I don't know. We don't need to necessarily crack that.
You don't need to figure out the whole movie.
But but that would now, because we talked in the previous episode that we would either keep Lynn alive or at least keep her alive longer.
Yeah, I think I'd still keep her alive, but
okay. I was going to ask.
Well, because of the nature
of what it's saying, does that character need to get killed off? I don't know.
I think if you did, you'd have to make it more clear at the end why you did it.
Yeah. So I would probably err on the side of just not killing that character off.
Yeah, I don't think you need to. I think the idea is you could have Lynn be the person who gets out of everything. Mm-hmm. Like, she gets out okay. And Marshal Law is fucked up, everybody else is fucked up. But maybe she breaks off of the relationship instead, you know? So you end on her, like, kind of living her life away from all this.
Yeah.
Something like that. I would just give people a little more happiness at the end.
Right, because it is pretty tragic.
Yeah. Mrs. Mallon. The obvious one that popped up was, like, Amy Adams.
That would be really cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because she's got, like, the Lois Lane connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Lois Lane connection. For Danny,
we cast them. Okay, so the previous episode, we cast Marshal Law. What did we say? Lakeith Stanfield?
Lakeith Stanfield would be great.
We suggested Natasha Lyonne for Lynn.
Natasha Lyonne. I would also say, like, you could do Ben Affleck, frankly, because of what the stunt casting of that would be.
You could do Ben Affleck, yeah. He's a little too old to be Marshal Law.
That's true. Lakeith is also just a blast, so. Mm-hmm. Danny, did we cast Danny?
We didn't. No, we cast Public Spirit. I think we said, what did we say? Chris Pratt or one of the Chris's.
Chris Pratt would be delightful. Yeah,
because he needs
or any of the Chris's. Any of the Chris's.
Yeah, literally any of the Chris's.
Christopher Lloyd doesn't matter. Any Chris.
Christopher Maloney.
Yep. For Danny, I'm thinking Tom Holland.
Sopranos.
Yeah.
Tom Holland would be great because it fits with that idea. Like he's got that youthful vibe of like just wants to look up to these people, but also it's like he's the next phase of like the MCU. So there's that element of the stunt casting where it's like that's what he is. Like he's
exactly
they're putting all this burden on this guy to carry this house that they built for the past 10 years with these much bigger stars.
Right. At first I was like Paul Dano, and I was like, that's too obvious.
Too obvious, yeah.
Yeah.
Like as soon as you put Paul Dano in a movie like this, you're like, he's the fucking bad guy.
Yeah, he's the villain. That's what Tom Holland seems like he'd be a good one.
Yeah.
Do you have any other ideas for that?
No, that's pretty awesome idea, actually.
Yeah, I think I nailed that one.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed that one.
I didn't write down anything for Celeste. I have something for the porn priest. The priest he goes to. I think Vinnie Jones is in order.
Yeah, we gotta.
I mean, Vinnie Jones needs to be in this somewhere.
Honestly,
I just think it'd be funny to make him the priest.
He would either be the priest or like Suicida, the leader of that.
Yeah.
The one of the superhero gangs.
Yeah.
Who's just
for sure.
Seems like he's going to be formidable, but then very quickly just kind of becomes a running joke.
Right. That's another martial law. You could do Jason Statham.
Sure.
He's got that bitterness.
But again,
he might be too old.
He's the same age as Affleck, so he's a little too old to be this
old.
character. He's got to be kind of like mid-30s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know for Celeste. I'm trying to think of what would be a good, because it would be somebody who's like sort of has a New Guard vibe to her, like Tom Holland.
Yeah, I think she's got to be like, she's got to have that like youth. She's supposed to be like young. Well, she's not necessarily young.
No, but it's like a New Guard. She's probably the same age as Marshal Law.
Yeah. She didn't go to. Oh no, it doesn't matter if she didn't go to space.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Man, I don't know.
She's got red hair.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah. You can dye.
Yeah, you wear wigs. It doesn't matter. Like we're not trying to like nail like the physical appearance of people as much. That's not as important in this specific story. I don't think it's important at all, actually, except for the fact that Public Spirit needs to be a white guy. That's really the only.
Yes, he's got to be a honky.
Yeah.
Around Chris Pratt's age. How old is Chris Pratt?
Like 40?
Okay. So we're talking actresses in their 40s.
Or like, I mean, it would be the same age as like I said, I think Celeste is supposed to be the same age as Marshal Law. So Marshal Law is like mid-30s. It's like somebody around that age.
Okay. Wait, around
Marshal Law's age.
Marshal Law's age. So yeah,
the reason I'm having difficulty is Celeste is kind of a very minor character. Like she doesn't.
Right, she could literally be anything.
She could really be
I was
anyone,
thinking
yeah.
you get a hotshot actress. I think you get like a fucking Margot Robbie or like a Gal Gadot. Like you get you get someone who sort of
like you're right, like the New Guard field, like an up and comer. Kind of like
you get someone that you're gonna murder and that isn't gonna be in it much. I think for some of the minor characters, like for the big heroes, it's just fun for stunt casting.
Right?
Yeah. You get like someone who it feels like they would be the star, but they're not.
Yeah.
That's what I would go for, and so like it really is kind of interchangeable for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could do fucking Lupita Nyong'o, who I just love in anything. You could do
that would be cool, yeah.
Yeah, you could do fucking Black Widow there.
It's such a tiny part. Oh yeah, you could do Scarlett Johansson, yeah.
Yeah, again, it's literally like any like stunning
it would be
actress.
It would be pure stunt casting, right? Cuz like the only function of the character is just kind of this bait and switch
to be a star.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not much of a character there, unfortunately.
No, not much.
the women don't fare well in Marshal Law.
Right. No, they don't. They don't at all.
Yeah. I think that's everybody.
Right. Yeah, I think that's everybody. I think we have completed episode 2.
I think we have completed all of our assigned tasks for episode 2.
Yeah. I am very curious to see what the rest of this comic is, because these first 6 episodes were very much like a statement.
It's a very contained, focused statement. Yeah. So I also am very curious to see where this is going to go, and I'm honestly a little nervous.
That it'll stop being
once you
commentary,
right? Because
it'll just be a story,
right? Because this was so focused and such a specific statement And it's like, well, what is the sequel going to be? Like,
right. Are we just going to do the sequel like, right. Are we just going to do the stuff?
And it's like, and now he goes to Hawaii, or like, because I mean, we did talk about in the previous episode, like he does have a crossover with like Pinhead and shit. So like, we know it's going to get goofy.
It's you know what it is? It's the RoboCop effect.
Mm-hmm.
Is you make a RoboCop and you're like, what a really tight like commentary on fascism and whatnot, and then they're like, let's make more, and it's like
what?
And then it's just the adventures of RoboCop, and it's like, well, you're completely missing the point of RoboCop, but I guess we're doing this now. So I'm hoping it'll be like RoboCop in the sense that I do enjoy the sequels just for a different reason.
Well, there's the pressures aren't the same in comics as they are in movies, so there probably wasn't pressure on these creators to do more. So hopefully that's a good sign where they were just like, well, let's do more because we have another idea.
Right.
And it looks like Marshal Law goes to like New York in the next one, so it's like it seems to be like a send up of the Avengers.
Okay.
So that could open some other areas of commentary. I don't know. I'm very curious to see what the next story arc is going to be.
Yeah. We will find out.
And if you lucky ducks want to find out along with us and follow along, the book we're reading, Marshal Law, the Deluxe Edition, it's not in print, but you can get it in digital formats.
It's on the Kindles.
It's on the Kindles. It's on the Comixologies. It's not very expensive because it's a digital version. So if you feel like reading along with us, you super can. You just probably don't want to throw down the cash for however much cash is going to take you to get a physical copy because, woof.
Right.
It's pricey.
Yeah. So the next episode, we are going to cover Marshal Law Takes Manhattan and Kingdom of the Blind.
Dope.
Yep.
Dope. Oh, yeah. I'm
so
looking at the cover. I'm looking at the cover
that's what they do.
Of Marshal Law Takes Manhattan, and it's like, yep, there's Thor, there's Spider-Man, there's the Punisher, there's Captain America. It's going to be pretty sweet, it looks like.
Okay.
There's Ant-Man, there's Mr. Fantastic. Oh, yeah, all right.
Really?
I mean, not literally. It's clear. They're analogs.
Yeah, but it's all like...
They're analogs.
That sounds delightful.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at the cover, too. Yeah.
Doctor Strange. There's Namor.
Fuck, yeah, the stretchy guy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, shit. Now we know what to expect.
A little bit.
Well, that does leave it open to be like, yeah, there's going to be commentary here on this. So that's cool. But that's next episode.
Yeah.
For now, Mind Freak 555. Thank you so much. Again, I'm having a lot of fun doing this. It's real chill.
Yeah.
It's just sitting there reading comics.
It's real chillaxed.
It's really chillaxed. That's a combination of chill and relaxed for people who are unaware.
Mm-hmm. It's a portmanteau, but it's a chillaxed portmanteau. So it's like a portmanteau.
Portmanteau, yeah. That's exactly what it is.
And also an additional thanks, just because I had never heard of this book before.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't get to read comics often, so that's also
so
good.
It's nice to have to read it as a job.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. I like reading.
Yeah, sure. I like yeah. When I am obligated to do it, it makes it even easier for me to do reading.
Mm-hmm. Well, geez, folks. Thanks for listening. If people are interested, if you're curious, you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We have some exclusive podcasts on there, like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. Those are all for $5 a month. You just give us $5 a month, you get all that back. It's a great deal. For a little more, you can watch movies with us every Friday night as well, if that's something you're into.
Yeah. We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com where you can find a link to our Teespring store, where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts, stickers, posters, mugs, all kinds of things. So check it out. You goofs.
You too can be a hero.
Yeah.
By supporting us.
Be a superhero.
Is that a song?
I believe it's from Blank Man, yeah. You can lend a helping hand. I think it's from Blank. It's definitely in a movie from the 90s that I saw.
Why would we talk about Blank Man?
Listen, Dave,
why is that?
Listen, Dave. I have seen Blank Man more than twice.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I've seen it exactly 0 times. Do we need to do a podcast about Blank Man?
Maybe. I don't know.
Let me tell you, I don't want to.
All right, we can be finished.
All right. See ya.
Bye.